is there a receiver that maybe would surprise people that, scored really well in your reception perception that you really like for next season?
I think that I don't know how much of a surprise this is if people have been following me for a while, but I'm a big fan of Willie Snead, and he's another player.
Yes.
He's a player that I liked last year, like going into last year, but the opportunity wasn't necessarily going to be there because he had two players playing in front of him in terms of Brandon Cooks and Michael Thomas that the team has obviously invested more in. But if you just and just take away the reception perception part of it right now, and I'll get into that in a little bit, but like think about Willie Snead's career to this point. I think it's undersold how impressive he really has been. It's not that he's put up these eye-popping stats, but this is a player that's a total unknown from Ball State, undrafted free agent that, he didn't even catch on to a roster necessarily in his first year, but because he was part of that 2014 draft class, but he was on practice squads, this, that, and the other that season. Then 2015 comes around, he catches on with the Saints. He has had over 100 targets his first two seasons. He's been productive in two different roles because in 2015 he played more of like an outside flanker role, and then 2016 when Michael Thomas came over and took over the split end role with Brandon Cooks moving around, Snead was essentially their primary slot receiver, caught over 70 passes, went over 800 yards. So he's shown through two seasons he can excel in two different roles. And now the Saints have pretty much said that they're comfortable with him as their second receiver, with their only addition being Ted Ginn, who I think is going to play a role in the offense, but is not going to outpace him for targets and opportunity there. And if you look at Willie Snead's reception perception, he was the only receiver that I charted this year that scored above the NFL average in success rate versus coverage on every single route on the route tree. So he's a guy that is a really precise route runner who creates separation at all levels of the field. And like I mentioned, he can line up inside or outside. And right now at this point in the Saints offense, we know they throw the ball like almost no other team in the league. And Michael Thomas will obviously be the number one there, but it's hard to project out the Saints offense and not think that Snead's going to push for 120 targets. And if he does that in this offense, it's going to be, you got to do a little bit of mental gymnastics to think that he's not going to finish within the top 30-ish fantasy receivers. And that's like where he's getting drafted right now. So you're kind of looking at him as like a floor play at this point, and anything else you get extra is a nice little piece of gravy. So I love Willie Snead. I think he's a really underrated player, and now it's like the talent is going to meet with opportunity this year, and you got to be pretty excited about that.
To hear the whole episode, click the link in the description and subscribe for exclusive content during the season.